Are you an established small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur? Would you like professional advice to help your business grow and succeed? Well, look no further. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is the territory's #1 resource to move your business forward. Enjoy no-cost advising, low-cost training, and technical assistance from experts in both the public and private sectors. The VI SBDC is nationally accredited and sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. Visit us at our locations on St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Croix, and follow us on social media at VI SBDC. For easy access to all our training and networking events, be sure to join our newsletter and download the VI SBDC app. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, here to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you've joined us today. Whether you have a business idea sketched on a napkin or you've been running a successful company for a decade, today's session is for you. The Small Business Administration, better known as the SBA, is often called the best kept secret in government. But today, we're taking the mystery out of it. We're going to walk through the pillars of SBA support. Our goal is simple, to make sure you know exactly which doors to knock on to take your next big step. To help us navigate this, I'm honored to introduce our speaker for today. He is a dedicated advocate for small businesses across Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. As the SBA Senior Area Manager for the USVI, he has helped countless entrepreneurs access the capital and the confidence they need to compete. Please join me in welcoming Wayne Huddleston. Here's a friendly reminder to place your questions in the chat, and they will be addressed by the presenting team, either directly in the chat or later during our question and answer segment. A copy of today's presentation will be attached to the post survey email sent after this live session. We encourage you to take a few minutes of your time to briefly fill out the survey that lets us know how we are doing. This data is essential to us rendering these deliverables complimentary to you. So without further ado, Wayne, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Sharika, and good morning to everyone. Sharika said, my name is Wayne. I am the Senior Area Manager for the Small Business Administration here in the Virgin Islands. Today, I'm going to provide a very general overview of what SBA does, and I'm going to put a little bit of a detail into some of our primary areas of accessing capital, of contracting assistance, of technical assistance, and what we do to assist in recovery. Our presentation is not going to be very long. It'll probably be 20, 30 minutes, and I want to preserve a lot of time at the end, answer any questions you have regarding any SBA program, whether it's a lending program or contracting support or what have you. My goal here is to make sure you have a better understanding of what SBA does, how it can help, how it operates here in the Virgin Islands, and that you know the tools that are available to assist you as you're trying to start or grow a small business. So just on a general level, the whole purpose for the Small Business Administration is to help businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. Our agency was developed in the 1950s in response to a lot of recovery efforts of restarting the economy after World War II, consolidated a lot of different programs that were across government into one, with the mission of focusing specifically on small businesses, because we know that today's small businesses can be tomorrow's large businesses, and making sure that they grow and succeed has a direct impact on our ability to grow and succeed as a country and keep our economy strong. We have a lot of different programs that we offer. I'm going to start with probably what is most what most people think of when they think of SBA. They often think of SBA loans. So I'm going to talk about those programs first. So our loan programs, except for in times of disaster, which I will talk about later on, our loan programs are not direct loans to business owners. What we do is we leverage the good credit rating and good standing of the federal government to back loans to lenders. So if a lender is looking at a prospective deal to a small business owner, just by definition of being small business, those loans are inherently risky, either because the small business does not have a lot of years showing that it can be profitable, or maybe it's susceptible to shocks in a way large businesses are not. There are all sorts of reasons for those loans to be risky. So they will turn to the federal government, and we will offer those lenders a guarantee anywhere from 50% up to 90%. Essentially saying to those lenders that if you do this loan and it goes bad in some way and you need to recover your losses, we will cover 50% to 90% of your losses. That often helps lenders get to the point to either provide a loan where otherwise they would not be able to, or to provide a loan under better terms to the borrower so they can get the deal done. Our guarantee can be helped to finance businesses really in all different scenarios and industries. It can be used to launch or start a business, used to purchase equipment, access credit, purchase buildings or real estate or export services. It can really be used to just about anything that the lender wants to use it for. Now, a big caveat to that is that to be used for anything that the lender is willing to use it for. Even with our guarantee, there are some lenders who will say, look, we're just not going to lend to a startup. A business has to show that it has been in business for a couple of years or more, and then we'll look at it. But lots of lenders will say, yeah, if we get the guarantee, then we will consider startups depending on other circumstances that surround that loan deal. But the guarantee can be used for just about anything as long as it's legal. Now, to qualify for these loans, there are still basic underwriting requirements that the lenders are going to be looking at. And they're going to be looking at what is called the 5 C's model. I have a whole presentation that goes into more depth on what these are and how they work. But essentially, this is the basic areas that all lenders look to when they are determining whether a deal is something that they can put their money towards. So they're going to be looking at the character of the individual. Essentially, does that person pay their bills on time? Do they have negative things about them in the community? Do they have a criminal record? All those types of things. They're going to be assessing the character of that individual. And that even comes down to when they're talking to this business owner, does that business owner do what they say they're going to do? When they say they're going to provide some documents, do they provide the documents? Are they honest with me every time I speak with them? All the way down to something as simple as we schedule a meeting, do they show up on time? They're going to be assessing everything about that person to get a good sense of their character. They're going to be looking at the cash flow of the business. They're going to be analyzing financial statements to see what happens each month. How does flow of cash come into the business, and how does the flow of cash go out of the business? So they want to make sure that that's operating in a way that is sustainable and can pay back the extra debt load that may happen if they approve a loan. They're also going to be looking at collateral. Collateral is simply assets that the bank can take if the loan goes bad. So ideally land or buildings or some sort of asset that a bank can say, okay, you stopped paying on this loan, we can take this to recover our losses here. So they're going to be looking for something. Capitalizations is often what you're bringing to the deal. And in most cases, that's cash. What kind of cash are you bringing into this deal? If you are seeking $100,000 to buy an expensive piece of equipment or a small piece of land or something like that, A lender is not going to be interested in 100% taking all the risk for you. They're going to want to see that you are putting some skin in the game in some way. So they're going to want to see what you are bringing in to the deal. And then finally, they're going to look at conditions of the marketplace. They want to see your business plan, how you think through your decisions in this business, what the competition is, what the potential pitfalls are in this business. They want to make sure that it is something that is reasonable and makes sense, especially for this marketplace here in Virgin Islands. All the lenders in the Virgin Islands can provide SBA loans. Think of St. Croix, First Bank, Oriental, Merchants Bank, Popular, and even the Economic Development Authority here in the territory. There are also many lenders outside the territory who can provide loans. In fact, some of our larger loans done to businesses here in the Virgin Islands over the past several years have been by lenders from outside the territory that have been willing to invest in businesses here. As I mentioned before, there are some things you're going to have to show a lender to qualify. And what I hear most frequently from our lending partners as an obstacle for them being able to get to a yes on a loan is the financial statements. They want to see that you have sufficient financial statements, you have legitimate expense sheets, you have well thought out financial projections, and you have a reasonable business plan. These are all things that the SBDC or other SBA resource partners can help you, and I'll talk more about that later on in the presentation. And then finally, as you're looking for more loans, we have a program on our site, or more lenders who may be able to help. We have a program on our site called SBA Lender Match. All we are simply doing in this portal is connecting you with lenders who have indicated to us that they are interested in looking at deals within the Virgin Islands. I strongly recommend anyone who is considering or who is seeking a loan to use Lender Match. It does not cost anything. It takes about 10, 12 minutes to fill out, and then you hit send, and it is immediately sent out. A mistake I often see is that while we encourage borrowers to first seek a loan through a financial institution that they already have an existing relationship. So either your business bank account or your personal bank account, if it is with a local bank, you should start with that bank because it is typically the lender that is better able to provide you a loan quickly than someone who you've never met before or a bank you've never met before. However, you shouldn't always take a shotgun approach to this. You should start with the lender that you have a relationship with, but at the same time, as you're gathering financial statements and the things that they need, you should also be sending that to other lenders out there. So always use Lender Match and start putting this together with multiple lenders. I have seen sometimes where people go down a process that takes 6 months with a lender, and then at the end, for some reason, the lender may not be able to secure the deal in the terms that they would like. And then they find themselves back at square one, starting over, trying to find another lender. Instead, just start with all of them at the same time, and you can go with whoever provides you the best deal at the best rates. So Lender Match is a good tool for doing that. There are some other programs we have that provide capital to small businesses. They are a little bit more unique and specialized, but I want to make sure I just cover them so that you're aware of them. One is called Small Business Investment Companies. Not all businesses are good candidates for lending, or maybe a small business just doesn't want to take on the debt, but is interested in perhaps giving up some equity in a business. And this is where small business investment companies can help. These are typically more for businesses that have the potential for a very high rate of return. Investors from our small business investment companies are typically not looking to invest in things that are routine or have a very limited amount of growth potential, such as a one-stop restaurant or a one charter boat or something like that. They're typically looking for something that's going to scale enormously. But if you have a business that you're looking to do that and scale in a big way, an SBIC can be an option, and you can find more about those on our website. Just go to sba.gov, look up SBICs, and it can give you more information on those. Okay, and I covered that already. I'm talking, but there's the link down there, funding programs, to get a little bit more information on investment capital. We also have programs where we connect small businesses with federal agencies who are interested in investing in emerging technology or research that helps their mission in some way. So, for instance, the Department of Energy is frequently looking for things to help provide more efficient energy solutions. There could be things in the Department of Agriculture to help in that area. But there are ways to see what federal agencies are looking to invest in. And if you have some sort of emerging technology or a program to help advance their mission, they would be interested in providing you money to advance that or commercialize your product eventually. You can get more information on that through our website at sbir.gov. That connects you directly to federal agencies to learn more about that. And then finally, in access to capital, there is what's called our bonding program. Our bonding program is used fairly frequently here in the Virgin Islands. It is a way of getting approval for a contract. So oftentimes with federal and federally funded local contracts, a bond is required, or a contractor typically in a construction realm is required to secure a bond. And this is more like an assurance to the contracting agency to say, okay, if you contract with this entity to build this building or whatever it may be, this is more like an insurance policy to help ensure that they will be able to complete the project, or the contracting agency will be covered should that project run into an issue. So those agencies and those contracts typically require bonding, and it works very similar to how our SBA guarantee program works for loans as well. There is a formula based on how large the contract is, and that requires a certain level of bonding for that agency or for that contract provider. The contract provider then turns to a surety bond agency, which looks at how much capital they have on hand, their expertise in the field, and a number of different aspects, and then will provide a bond that they can provide to that contracting agency to assure them that they can complete on a business. We have a list of agents that help people go through that process, and you can find more about it on our site as well if that's something you are interested in. Okay, that was just a very brief overview of our access to capital programs. I can go into a lot more detail on those later on if you have any questions, but I'm going to go to another area that we help out in, and that is federal contracting. The federal government is the world's largest customer. It spends more money on products and services than any other entity in the world. It's required by law to provide contracting opportunities to small businesses. And so our role at SBA is to help contracting officers connect with local small businesses to perform on those contracts wherever they're able, and to help small businesses understand how to compete in the federal marketplace, because it's not necessarily an intuitive process. We also offer certifications to help with this. The certifications we offer are something called the 8A Business Development Program, which enables businesses who have trouble accessing the federal marketplace with technical support and services to help them grow. We have what's called the Historically Underutilized Business Zone, which is a powerful program to help small businesses that are located in areas of poverty or high unemployment, which the entire Virgin Islands is designated as a hub zone for this purpose. So for any business that is headquartered in the Virgin Islands, employs people in the Virgin Islands, it has the ability to qualify for a hub zone certification. What that provides is special access to contracts. There are many contracting officers that have a goal each year of providing a certain number of contracts to hub zone certified firms. If you don't have that certification attached to your business, then you cannot compete for those contracts. Also, if you are competing for a contract that is in what they call full and open competition and is not restricted in any way, if you are a hub zone certified firm, you have the ability to bid up to 10% higher on those contracts and still be awarded the contract, where otherwise you would not be able to. It's a very powerful designation contracting officers really like working with HubZone certified firms, and they often actively seek out firms that have that certification. So if you are interested in government contracting, that is certainly a certification you'd like to get. Additionally, there are certifications on women-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. If you want to learn more about how any of these certification programs can help you as you compete for federal contracts, you can learn more at certified.sba.gov. There's also a entity here in the Virgin Islands. It is not funded by SBA, but we partner closely with them. This is an entity funded by the Department of War, and they help small businesses compete for contracts. So it's called the Apex Accelerator. They have them all across the country. There is an office here in the Virgin Islands called the VI Apex Accelerator. Their whole purpose, whereas SBA and the SBDC and SCORE and others help in all different aspects of starting and growing a small business, this entity focuses strictly on contracting. They are experts at helping you identify federal contracts as well as local government contracts and helping you understand how to position yourself effectively to win and perform well on those contracts. If you are at all interested in government contracting, I strongly urge you to reach out to the Apex Accelerator, set an appointment. They can help you on the entire process of how to get started, how to get set up, and what we call the system forward management and other tools to help you grow. All right, I'm going to go pivot now and talk about some programs we have for exporting. So as I mentioned before, the federal government is the largest purchaser of goods and services in the world. That being the case, nearly 96% of consumers live outside the United States, and 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is outside of the United States. Therefore, we endeavor to help small businesses grow beyond our borders, especially in exporting. In fact, our largest guarantee, as I mentioned before in the beginning, our guarantee can range anywhere from 50 to 90%. Our 90% guarantee applies to loans that are for exporting. You can get a lot more information at sba.gov on our tools for exporting by visiting that site, sba.gov/exporting. It gives a lot of information on it. You can also get a lot more information from several programs that we fund to support exporting. Our SBDCs can help in that process. There is something called the U.S. Export Assistance Center called USVI. There's one in Miami that is tasked with helping the Virgin Islands as well. There's something called the State Trade Expansion Program, which is a program we fund, but then we provide to the local Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, and they use that to fund trade programs. So if you have a product that you sell here in the Virgin Islands, but you'd like to expand to a foreign market, the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority can pay for you to go free of charge to those conferences and promote your products overseas or some other place. And they offer that program free of charge through VITA. And then, as I mentioned, there are export loans to help you either export your products or just get the working capital you need, or just somehow engage in international trade. There are multiple loan products that can help with that. And that information can be found on site on our link that I mentioned earlier, or through our lead export finance manager who is in charge of this area as well as Florida and Puerto Rico. Sandro Murtas is based in Florida. He understands the Virgin Islands market. He does presentations a couple times a year down here, but he can be reached at any time. This is his email and this is his cell phone number. If you have an interest in an export loan or some sort of assistance you need for exporting your product somewhere, Sandro is a person who can help you. And just as a side note, I will be providing this entire presentation to Sharika following this. She can send it out to all of you so that you have all this contact information. And then another big area I'm going to pivot to is our disaster recovery. And unfortunately, a lot of people know SBA or have their interaction with SBA because of disasters that have struck this area in the past. It's been estimated that up to 25% of businesses don't reopen after a major disaster. So we have a number of programs to help people recover quickly and get back on their feet. We have a lot of tools on our site, and we have partner agencies like FEMA and others that help with tools that help you think through your resiliency and prepare in advance so that if a disaster does hit, whether that's a hurricane, whether that's a fire, whether that's any other sort of thing that can happen, that you are prepared in some way and you've thought through some contingency plans so that you can get back on your feet fairly quickly. You can get more information on those through sba.gov/prepare. What most people come to us for is when a disaster hits, they are often seeking disaster loans to help get back on their feet quickly. And this is the only time where SBA does directly provide loans to not only business owners, but also homeowners as well to get back on their feet. Because oftentimes if someone doesn't have a roof over their head, they're not going to be showing up to work. So we want to make sure that everything is addressed and taken care of. Our loans can help with real estate, personal property, economic injury to a business. So if something happens and that impacts maybe not so much the business itself, but it impacts the customers that would be coming to that business and sales slide significantly because of that, we can provide a loan to help bridge that gap. It can be used to fund machinery and equipment and inventory loss, all sorts of things. So we have a lot of things that can help or help recover after a disaster if it's needed. And finally, I'm going to talk about the tools that are available at any time to help small businesses wherever your stage is. So we have a number of programs where we help small businesses think through anything from I have an idea and I have absolutely no idea where to begin to I've been in business 20, 30 years, but now I'm looking to sell, or now I'm looking to fund a multi-million-dollar expansion project. We have the tools and expertise available to help. And there are several programs for this. The three big ones that are available here to Virgin Islanders, all that part of SPDC, who is hosting this program today. We have what's called a SCORE chapter that provides free mentorship and advice and online workshops. And we have something called the Veterans Business Outreach Center. It's based in Puerto Rico, but provides direct assistance to Virgin Islanders. I'm going to talk about each one of those a little bit more in depth. So SCORE is the SCORE chapter here in the Virgin Islands is affiliated with the SCORE chapter in Florida, which provides a great deal of resources and expertise. The SCORE chapter in Florida, Broward County, is a very large chapter, has many mentors covering a lot of expertise and industries. We also have mentors here in the Virgin Islands, both on St. Croix and on St. Thomas, that are very well trained and would be happy to help you think through your business plan. So just sit down with you at any time. They don't charge any money. These are just people who are experts in their field, have good understanding of how to help a business start and grow, and they just want to volunteer their time and help other businesses in the community grow because they want to improve our community. You can sign up to have a meeting with any SCORE mentor here locally or through someone in the Florida chapter. They have their own website. You can go to score.org to learn more about the Virgin Islands branch. You can also attend any of their online workshops. They offer a lot, especially through the Florida chapter, but they're a very good organization. And I have known people who have started a mentoring relationship with someone at SCORE, and 10, 15 years later, they still have that mentoring relationship, and where they check in, a couple times a year, have coffee, talk about the business, and get really good advice. It's like having an objective partner with you in your business to help you, give you good advice. And who will give you objective advice oftentimes, not the friendly, go for it advice you always get from family and friends, but they will help think through it a little bit more critically with you. Small Business Development Center, I'm not going to talk too much about them because most of you should know about them because they are the host of today's sessions. But this is, this entity acts more like consultants. They get paid. So whereas SCORE is a volunteer basis, the counselors at the SBDC are paid for their services. They are well trained for their services. They still do not charge for their services, but they offer some great tools as well. Not only the consulting services, but the training and the workshops that they have are extensive. They also have access to many tools to help you with market research or building your business plan. Just an excellent organization that can help you with all aspects of starting or growing your business or packaging your loans to secure large loans. They are very well connected in the lending community. Just an outstanding organization. And I tell you, I've owned businesses myself in the past. I was director of a large SBDC in the States before I came to the Virgin Islands. I've been with SBA for well over a decade now. If I was starting another business tomorrow, I too would go down to the SBDC and sit and talk with them and just think through what I'm doing just to get that objective advice. It is an excellent organization, and I highly recommend anyone signing up for a client with the SBDC if you're thinking about either starting or growing a business. And then finally, if you are a veteran, these services are also available to you. They're a little bit more veteran-centric. It's very similar to the services you'll get from the SBDC, but they are just geared more towards veterans. So veterans often are transitioning in a way and out of a lifestyle that is completely foreign to the rest of us. So having that kind of technical advice and support and training from the Veterans Business Outreach Center is very helpful. They have a very good program called Boots to Business that helps, especially for veterans who are recently coming off of active duty service transition and understand how to start a business and grow it effectively. You can learn more about them at vbocpr.org. And finally, you do not have to wait for these presentations to get information about SBA. You can sign up for our updates. You can get information on our X account. We have a website. We combined the Virgin Islands website and Puerto Rico website together. We can find all the information on there. All our seminars are posted on there. Everything the SBDC offers here locally is posted on there. It can be a one-stop shop for a lot of great resources. But I'm also your full-time person down here. So anytime you have a question about anything related to SBA, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My phone number is there. My email is the best. Oftentimes I cannot answer the phone when you call, but if you leave me, or if you send me an email, that's often the easiest way that I can have a track record, get back to you, and sometimes either attach or connect you with someone that can help more in depth on what you're looking at. Please don't hesitate to reach out at any time on anything related to SBA. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. Just last thing, put it in here. We are a federal agency. So the reason this slide is here is to emphasize something important. The SBA is the SBA administrator is a sitting member of the president's cabinet. This is true for Donald Trump. It was true for Biden. It was true for Obama. It was true for Bush. The SBA has a very big voice despite being a small agency. So just know that if you ever have issues with the federal government, you can always reach out to me. And sometimes these issues can get federal assistance. We've had our regional administrator come down, who's in the middle here, Matthew Coleman, recently appointed. He came down not too long ago to help address an issue for the charter industry. They are very involved in making sure that they get the federal assistance needed. So these are just the pictures of us. There's also our Puerto Rico District Director, Ricardo, and then that's me there on the side. So with that, I'm going to open it up to any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to any questions anyone may have on anything related to SBA.
All right, Wayne, thank you for that presentation. If anyone has a question, they can raise their hand and you can be unmuted and you can ask directly. Wayne, I just wanted to emphasize that we do have at our centers the SBA resource guide. A lot of our entrepreneurs find it they find the information useful. We have been able to disseminate those at our in-person presentations, whether it's to veterans and members of the community. So we want you to know that if you want something tangible, I know in this PowerPoint you will see how you can get that online, but we also have those in person. Okay. Wayne, I don't see any questions. Oh, here we go. There's one in the chat. What are the general or maximum sizes of loans you have seen for a business that has not yet started, focused on the wellness and hospitality industry?
You know, a lot really depends. So if a business has not started, it's very difficult to secure a loan, period, because you're asking a lender to essentially invest in a business that has no track record of being successful. So that is a risky endeavor for them just right off the bat, especially knowing that most businesses fail. I think the failure rate of a new startup is around 60 to 80% by year 4. So they're very hesitant to invest in startups, but that's not to say that they won't. And the size of those loans really depends on the particulars of the deal. So for instance, if someone's starting up a wellness and hospitality business, but as part of that, the loan is needed to purchase real estate or a building or some durable equipment, that can change the calculus for a lender, because they can say, okay, well, what is the value of that real estate or that building? And if the value is enough to cover the loan, then they can say, okay, well, that, helps us, recover if this loan goes bad. So I can do that. But if it's for working capital of the business, the maximum size could be much lower, and it really depends on what the income will be, all those types of things. So a lot really depends, but I can tell you our maximum loan size at SBA can go up to $5 million. And we just, earlier this year, we had a $5 million loan on a business that was, and I think it was in the wellness industry, and they were building a building and doing some new construction. And so they were able to get that loan. They had some track record, though. They were existing for a while, but it was a fairly large loan. But we can do loans as small as, $10, $20, $30,000, whatever it may be. It just depends on the business.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a lot of comments in the chat saying thank you for this information. It was a great presentation and so forth. Here's another question. In the time of a disaster, are there federal grants for operationalization for emergency care?
Yes, they would not come from SBA. They would typically come from FEMA if that's needed. So when a disaster happens, a completely different arm of SBA comes down. So right now I am an office of one here for the territory. And then I have partners in Puerto Rico, and I have people who come down occasionally, and we manage the full amount of resources that SBA offers except for disaster. So if a disaster hits, and most commonly down here is a hurricane, we have a large disaster team come down. So to give you some perspective, when Irma and Maria hit, we had a little over 100 SBA employees come down to help with that process. And they come down in partnership with FEMA. They come down together, and they set up a large command center on all the islands, whatever island is affected by the disaster. Our programs really come into play after grants. So FEMA will come down, and they will be providing grant money to help rebuild, help do things, and work closely with the territorial government. The territorial government is still spending down billions of dollars of grant money that was dedicated to the territorial government to address the disaster and rebuild infrastructure. For individual homeowners and businesses, if they are seeking a loan, in fact, we first require they have gone through the FEMA process to ensure that they have exhausted all grant opportunities before they take on a loan. So there are those grant opportunities available. They cover a wide variety of things. I think they could be used to fund operations for emergency care, but that would be determined by FEMA, and they would take into account what are the needed services.
Okay, thank you for that. Would you be able to speak briefly on women-owned small businesses?
Sure. Our certification, well, the only real benefit for being a women-owned small businesses is in the federal contracting process. Now, the territorial government may have a benefit for that, but I'm not aware of it. But if you are a women-owned business, and to qualify as a women-owned business, to be clear, that business must be 51% owned and managed by a woman or women. So not 50%. So oftentimes we'll run into a situation where a couple will start a business together and they will divide it 50-50. Well, for our purposes, that's not a woman-owned business. That's a shared business. There are also instances where people will say, oh, I want the women-owned certification as a business, and so I'm going to give 51% to my dear grandmother, and she's going to be 51% owner of this business. But she's actually not managing the business. She's not there every day controlling what's happening, and that won't qualify either. So what we need is either a woman or a group of women that own at least 51% and have managerial and operational control of the business. Once that is satisfied to SBA that is the case, there is a certification process that you go through with SBA to ensure that it is licensed correctly, it's legitimate, it's American owned. What you say about woman owned is correct. And then that certification can be applied to the business. As I said, that applies that is most helpful in the federal contracting world. Contracting officers, much like they have requirements to give some contracts to hub zone firms or service disabled veteran owned firms, oftentimes they have small goals to give a certain number of contracts to women-owned businesses. And to do that, they have to be qualified for that, they have to provide the contract to certified women-owned businesses. So if you do not have that certification as a woman-owned business, then you will not be able to receive that contract under that authority. However, we do have multiple businesses here in Virgin Islands. In fact, I was just working with one last week that is a small project management firm. They are hub zone certified, but they are also women-owned certified. So we have assured contractors that they meet that certification. And they have been winning contracts left and right lately. In 2023, they won their first federal contract. And that was before they had their women-owned small business certification and hub zone certification. Now they've had contracts with, I think, 6 different agencies now in the federal government, largely because they have all those certifications. So I see a question here. Let's see. So if you are a woman and the sole proprietor, you can be considered a woman-owned small business. Yes. So if you're the 100% owner of the business and you're a woman, then yes, you can certainly qualify for women-owned business certification, and you should seek that on our website at sba.gov certifications. And I got a question to confirm: are the unaccounted for grants from prior hurricanes searchable on the FEMA website? That I cannot answer. I don't want to speculate. I would think so, but honestly, I think most of that money that would be available through federally funded programs, especially for Hurricanes Irma and Maria, have already been obligated through the territory. So I think, I don't know if they would actually be advertised on the FEMA website or not, but I think they would be advertised through either the Virgin Islands Office of Disaster Recovery. Well, that's probably the main one. Virgin Islands Office of Disaster Recovery would probably give you more information on the federally funded projects that are available.
All right. Thank you for that, Wayne. Everyone says thank you. I don't see any more questions. So I will go ahead, and I want to go ahead and share my screen so you can see what we have to come. We want to highlight that next week we're celebrating SBDC Day. And so I'm going to take you to that page on our website. So if you wish to comment, you want to follow the conversation in terms of SBDCs nationwide, what they're doing and the impact they have. If you would like to share your success in terms of attending a workshop, meeting us at an outreach event, or receiving services with us, you can go ahead and share your success and you can engage with our partners as well. So we will be boots on the ground, going around, canvassing in person, just making persons aware of our services, as well as letting businesses gain visibility. And that looks like connecting with us, making sure you follow us on our different social media platforms. And in return, we can definitely highlight what you have to say about the SBDC and connect the bigger audience to do business with you by seeing your social media plugins and so forth. So with regards to what Wayne mentioned today, I want to take you to the VI SBDC training portal so you can see what we have coming up that speaks to the different areas he spoke about. So he mentioned the VI Apex Accelerator, and we have collaborated with them on a primer series that leads to an in-person government contracting matchmaking summit. So with that being said, I want to take your attention to a webinar that we have coming up on March 26th. It's going to be presented by the state director, Mr. Frank Dixon, and he's going to be covering government contracting in disasters, doing business with FEMA and VITEMA. And so the earlier session spoke to having your capability statement. Another session spoke to how you get how you secure past performance. And now this is the third leg, and it speaks to doing business with FEMA and VITEMA. And it eventually leads to our in-person summit. It happens in both districts, so St. Croix and St. Thomas. It's going to be at the University of the Virgin Islands campuses. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we hope to see you there. Wayne will be representing the SBA as well, and he would probably be there in the room. So this is our training portal. I feel that it's important that you pay attention to the type of event that you want to look for. Let's go to on demand for a second. So after today's live session, we will convert it to a pre-recorded format. So at your leisure, you can go back and you can watch the presentation and we can send resources to you. In terms of live, that's what's to come. And we want to make sure that when it comes to center, you select all so that you don't just see one district at a time. And so what we have coming up on March 27th, we are in collaboration with the Lieutenant Governor's Office of Corporations and Trademarks. And we have Director Johannes, and she's going to be presenting and registering and maintaining your business name in the USVI electronically. So she will be walking through their website, their online portal, and how you access their services. Wayne returns on March 31st, and he's going to be covering SBA federal contracting certifications. On April 1st, we have VISBDC advisor Darrell Williams, and he will be presenting on pricing for profit, factoring in the island premium. He returns on April 8th, and he's going to be speaking to cash flow management with island economics. We have our merchants commercial bank, and April is financial literacy month. So we have staff presenting on small business accounting 101. We have Wayne returning on April 14th. He's going to be covering the 5 C's of SBA loan eligibility. On April 15th, we have our USVI EDA, and they're going to be presenting Navigating Capital, a deep dive into their funding and SSBCI programs. And we just want you to go to our portal and register for as many events as you can. For the most part, we have webinars. In person, we have the summit. And Wayne did mention our SCORE chapter here in the USVI. They were actually here in our center in person to meet. And we have them doing a webinar on May 13th. And so they're going to be talking about navigating and elevating, mastering the USVI SCORE mentorship. So let me just go back to today's meeting and see if I have any more questions for you, Wayne. I don't see any more questions. I just want to give a friendly reminder to check your email. We will send you a copy of today's presentation, and we ask you to take part in that survey that lets us know how we're doing. So once again, Wayne, it's always a pleasure collaborating with you on these events. And so to everyone in attendance, on behalf of our State Director, Karen Jones, we wish you a productive rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you.